Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing good. And my name is not that important. What important here is what we are going to discuss today. You have seen the news everywhere, whatever is going on around this world. Like there are problems with respect to economy, population, borders, religions, and so many problems that are going around right now. World wars are being fought between different countries. Some countries claiming that they are settling these wars. So, with respect to that problem, I am here to discuss what can we do to solve the problem to some extent. I'm not saying that we are going to eradicate all the problems, but we can fix it to some extent using I'm based on this idea. And the idea is the idea is not having big countries. So, the topic of our discussion is why dividing big countries could make the world more peaceful, more stable. So, let's start. We have seen that there are big countries like United States, India, China, Russia, and Brazil. What will happen if we split them into smaller, more manageable nations? And what if instead of competing like the smaller nation, we can create cooperated unions just like the European Union does today? This idea could actually make the world more democratic, peaceful, and stable. Let us explore how. The biggest problem with a giant nation is there are a lot of challenges. And one government has to manage hundreds of millions of people and dozens of languages, and in some cases there are hundreds of languages and totally different regions. It is almost impossible to make everyone feel represented. So yeah, you can see cases in US, China, Russia, and India as well. For example, in the US, the rural and urban voters have very different worlds. So we can't make common rules for all of them. Same is case with India, where southern and northern states have totally different priorities. In China, distant provinces follow central policies which may or may not be beneficial for them. In Russia and Brazil, the wealth gap between the regions is massive. So, which can create political frustration, regional inequality, and sometimes some kind of authoritarian central control. So, when countries are smaller, governments are closer to the people. Corruption is easy to spot. You can see the example of Nepal. This can't happen in big countries where if people are unhappy, they can't make the sudden change in a particular country. Corruption can be eradicated. It has happened in Singapore and other countries. Citizens feel like their vote actually matters because in big nations, sometimes people don't even vote because they think that their vote is not going to count because it is going that some central government is going to come there and they are going to make all the decisions based on their interested states. Also, for smaller countries, local problems get local solutions. It's like, for example, Denmark, Finland, and Switzerland. They are small but among the happiest, most democratic nations on earth. One more example is Singapore, a city state with no natural resources, yet one of the world's most developed economies. And there are various other factors for that, but let's not go that deep into that. So there is one more example, which is Estonia, which I just googled, and it is a tiny nation and is global leader in e-government and digital innovations. These countries show that size isn't power, and good governance is more in these small kind of nations. And now let's talk about what happen if there is like there are conflicts, like some bigger nation is going to attack the smaller nation. We can create unions for that. For example, North American Union, Chinese Union, Russian Union, Indian Union, and Brazilian Union, things like that. So now being small, it will not make these countries weak. They can create armies just like NATO, where they will help each other in terms of non-peaceful situations. For example, the European nation gives its members free trade, shared defense and security, common standards, a collective voice on global stage. And yet, you can see that each country keeps their culture, identity, and self-rule. So these kind of very interesting models. My next point is how big nations can follow this model. For example, let's take the example of United States. What if instead of one giant country still with political polarization, leftist versus rightist, Democrats versus Republicans, this kind of situation, it becomes a union of regional republics: West America, Midwest America, East America, South America. South America is not the correct terminology for that, but whatever. And all are self-governing, but part of United Union of States. So what can happen is that military, trade, and international policies could still be coordinated, but each region could choose its own healthcare system, education, and energy models suiting their local needs. This could restore democracy by bringing governance closer to the people. It will reduce the polarization, which is not only happening in USA but many other countries, even including Canada, Russia, China, India, Brazil, these kind of things. And it can create a blueprint for other peaceful region cooperation globally. So if we start from US, because you can see that US is a very big country and very influential one. So they can set the global example that instead of having big countries where there are a lot of challenges with respect to culture, with respect to language, with respect to religion, we can include religion in that as well. So if USA take this step, because it is one of the world oldest modern democracy, and so if it takes the first step to divide its country into various parts and then set an example for other countries like India, China, Russia, Brazil, especially India, China, and Russia, because these are one of the most biggest countries and also they have good influence all over the world. So if all these countries gets divided into smaller parts, we can say that we can get strong local governance, shared prosperity, and less conflict over the power of ideology. Maybe the future of peace is not creating bigger powers, but breaking them into cooperative human scale societies. So everyone feel represented and it will improve the democracy. US should be the first country to do that because it is one of the most influential country and it can set the best example how creating small democracies help the making the world more peaceful. So the United Nations once led the world in creating democracy, so they can think about that. Maybe it is time for it to lead again, this time by showing how smaller nations and greater cooperation can build more peaceful planet. Thank you.